Yo, what is up, guys? So, we're going to be talking about Quake Champions and answer the question that I was getting while I was live streaming the game for the past couple days. Is the game worth downloading? Is it worth buying? Because even though the game is free, you can technically unlock the entire roster if you want to spend 20 bucks. At least that's the cost of it right now. Now, as far as what you can do in the game, as well as to, again, answer some of your guys' questions here, I'm going to be using Overwatch kind of as a reference because I want to say a lot of you guys are familiar with Overwatch, and obviously those of you guys that follow me on Twitch more than likely have followed me for Overwatch or perhaps another game, but I feel like Overwatch is a good ground to kind of mention similarities. But anyways, first off, this game is not like Overwatch at all, but I'm just going to mention some of the abilities are similar like in Overwatch, and that's kind of what I'm going to be using it as a reference for. But anyways, so the character that I'm playing actually has an ultimate called the Dire Orb, and I'm going to be able to throw it out and I can teleport to the orb and it basically melees them. But if I teleport inside of them, it does what's called a telefrag and it'll instantly kill them. So there are weapon abilities in this game, and each hero in this game is a little bit different. They have different HP, armor, movement speed, as well as different passives and ultimates. But one thing I want to mention, for those of you guys that maybe have tried out this game and were like, you know, I really don't like the hero that you have for free because you don't get all the heroes, and that's why you have to maybe want to decide for yourself if you want to actually pay 20 bucks and unlock the entire roster. But I wouldn't say focus on trying out all the heroes to see if you really like the game, because I feel like if you're going to like the core game, you're going to like it, because when you unlock the rest of the heroes, yeah, the heroes might have different movement abilities and different passives. However, the core gameplay is actually going to be very similar. And what I mean by that, let's say, for example, you playing Genji is going to be a very different experience than playing Reinhardt in Overwatch, right? And if you only played Overwatch, and let's say that there's a free version of Overwatch, and you only had one character, that's a completely different experience. With Quake Champions, every hero in the game, or champion, can pick up every single gun. You're not locked to a certain gun for a certain hero. Now, you do have the option to select what gun you start out with. However, every hero has that option. You have the option of assault rifle, a shotgun, or a nail gun. For those of you guys who are wondering what gun would I recommend, I would always recommend the assault rifle. It's just more well-rounded than any other gun as far as the starting guns go. The nail gun technically has the most damage, but it's not hit scan. More than likely, you're not going to be hitting majority of your targets. But anyways, like I said, there was that move over there where I just teleported into him and I just telefragged him. It's a really cool thing. But as far as what's in the game, and to get this out of the way really quick, because this was a question that I did have asked while I was live streaming. By the way, all this footage is from my live stream. I'm going to go ahead and actually I can move my cam over the top left, because I actually didn't know where to put the cam in. But to get this out of the way real quick, because a few people came in and you're like, yo, your gun is different than mine. How do you unlock that gun, and what does that gun do? Now, you guys see over here, I just unlocked the legendary nail gun. It does not do anything except for act as a skin. There's also other weapon colors that you can get, and there's different skins of the weapon. So those are two different things that you unlock. Obviously, there are skins in the game, but that's what you get out of loot boxes. It's not pay to win at all. The gun that I have, even if it looks different than the one that you guys might have, it's the exact same, but it does technically have a different skin. That's the only difference. Zero pay to win mechanics. I doubt they will ever add pay to win mechanics. We're going to go ahead and jump into this other game over here. This is TDM Ranked. Now, as far as game modes in the game, there's a solo playlist which consists of FFA as well as an insta-gib mode, which means that you just die in one hit. But everyone dies in one hit, but use a rifle kind of a gun. You can kind of consider a sniper rifle, but I would say it's a little bit different. It's different. But anyways, so I really feel like this game excels in the ranked mode, and the reason why I think the game is really good for ranked. Now, just as a heads up, this game has a very steep curve, and to answer a question really quick, is the game worth downloading? Is it actually worth buying? So, first off, I think everyone should at least try out the game that is maybe sick of Overwatch if you are a DPS player, specifically, because if you like to play these tank roles or these healer roles, this game does not offer that kind of experience. It's a basically get good experience. In fact, the game soundtrack that you guys are hearing in the background is from a game called Guns the Duel. If you guys have played that game, you know that game is all about just raw skill. There's no healer, there's no classes. Well, technically there are, but there's really no roles, if that makes more sense. You're not gonna have a dedicated healer, a dedicated tank, and even though you kind of want to stick near each other, like I'm doing some ranked TDM, you kind of want to be near each other, but not so close that you'd be taking splash damage or get in each other's way, but in a sense where you're able to kind of follow up and kind of communicate. And that's where I feel like this game shines. Also, there's this whole like jump mechanic where you can have extra movement speed. The number that you guys are seeing right in the middle of the screen where it says like 300 and it's going like up and down, that is the movement speed. Different characters have different movement speed. Also, there's this thing called Strafe Jumping, which is something that I'm still trying to learn. I've kind of just picked up on a lot of the newer mechanics, like rocket jumping, for example. I didn't know it was like really viable in the game. As far as like using it to get to other higher areas, I thought it was just used for getting to like secrets like in older games, but you can actually use it and you don't take that much damage. Like it's viable to do is what I'm saying. But anyways, the game has a very steep curve, so when you jump into this game, you're probably going to get absolutely destroyed, and I've gotten destroyed too. That's part of a learning experience with a lot of different games. However, I understand if you play this game and you get destroyed super hard, it's kind of discouraging to continuously play, because I would say the community is pretty nice too. Like, I really don't think I've ran into like one toxic person at all while playing this game, as far as like complaining that, you know, my team sucks, because the thing is if they were really good, they would be able to hard carry. If you're looking for a game where you can hard carry in, this is definitely a really cool game for that. But I feel like it needs more like modes in the game. Someone came in from the community while I was live streaming, and like I said, the community seems really nice. But they were like, yeah, they're adding Capture the Flag pretty soon, so that's pretty cool if you guys want to play Capture the Flag. I think this game really excels in, again, the 2v2s. It's just so much more fun than playing just like the TDM over and over and over. Currently, right now, for the game modes, there's a solo and there's a team playlist. The team playlist is only TDM. It's very action-packed throughout the entirety of playing it. So basically, there's no downtime, which is something that a lot of games have evolved, and they've added this downtime. And what I mean by this downtime is that, like, for example, if you're playing Overwatch, again, I'm just using this game as an example because, you know, everyone's familiar with Overwatch. You know how you group up together, you try to make a push, you try to use your ultimates. It's a more team-based game. And then after the push is successful or fails, you have a downtime. This game does not offer that, so it's pretty much just high action the entirety. And as far as the game experience, this game is basically just at the top majority of the time as far as like excitement levels, right? But if it's always exciting, it makes the exciting moments a little bit less exciting, and I'll explain that. So basically, if you're in action the entire game, as far as the games feel like you're always in that very high moment. But if you play a game like Overwatch, you have these moments where it's very exciting and then it goes low, and then it gets exciting and then it's low. And breaking up the combat is something that I would say is a mechanic that almost every game implements now. And that's just due to the way that I feel like, I don't want to get too like philosophical here, but it adds the mindset that those moments are more important. And I think that it is very true. A lot of these older games like Unreal and Quake, they're so high action throughout the entirety. It makes those action moments a little bit less exciting, if that makes any sense. But anyways, short answer, the game is definitely worth downloading and trying out. Again, if you are interested in either playing DPS or you're a DPS player, because again, there's no real roles in this game. Even though there is a character that can heal, and there's a character that actually can kind of charge in like Reinhardt would. It's one of the guys' ultimate, his name is Scalebreaker. It doesn't one-shot people, but it does a decent amount of damage. But there's a lot of different characters. There's a character that has Widowmaker's ultimate. There's a character that can jump off of a wall. There's a character that has a double jump. There's a character that can dual wield any gun in the game. And some of these are passives, some of these are ultimates. The thing is even though the characters are different, if you play the game, like you download the free version, and whatever character is free on rotation, and you don't like the game, I don't think that I could recommend you buying this game. And the reason why is because it's not really going to change your experience too much. The core gameplay mechanic of this game is a get good mentality. And like you can see right now, the score is 20-3. And I feel like the people that get dumpstered on, they're might not going to be willing to try out the game again. But if you put in the time, I think you can get a lot better at this game, especially now that it's free. There's a lot of new players, so now is definitely the time to go in, and this way you can get some kills, because there's going to be games where you're going to get absolutely destroyed by some people that are really good. As you guys saw, I just rocket jumped over there, but it's a really cool thing. Like I like it. It was definitely refreshing. However, I think they need to add more content. And you guys are seeing every 2 minutes there's a power-up that spawns. I used to play a lot of competitive Halo. I used to go to the MLG events, and I really like the idea of there's a power-up and every 2 minutes it spawns, and like you have to control that area. So even though like a lot of players that see this and they're like, oh, it's just basically just TDM, there's a lot more that goes into it when you're rotating on the map, trying to control those power weapons. And by the way, the weapons work in this game is there's a spawn of a weapon and it respawns like every 1 second. So you really don't have too much of a disadvantage by trying to get that specific weapon if your opponent is in that area, because you can just go to another area and that weapon will always be up. So basically, don't worry too much about like not having like the good weapon because my opponent is camping it, because you can just go to another area, and that's kind of how you're supposed to play the game in a sense. But the game will be rough, I will definitely admit that. But again, as far as buying the champion pack, because like I mentioned before, if you could only play one hero in Overwatch and that was the hero on free week, you might not like the game. Like I mentioned before, if you play Genji or Reinhardt, those are two completely different experiences, whereas this game, it's more so the same. So if you really enjoy the game, then I can recommend you purchasing the champion pack. But don't think that, I guess we can do another example. League of Legends, okay? I played some of heroes, hated them, right? I played Soraka, hated that character, right? Then I go play something like Katarina, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this game's amazing. But I feel like with this game, if you like it, you'll like it. It's not going to be a game determined on the hero pool as far as like what's available. But yeah, you might have a little bit more fun with another hero, but again, I just can't really recommend that buy if you don't already enjoy like the core gameplay, because again, the gameplay experience of this is either get good or you just don't really enjoy the game unless you're willing to put the time into it. But I think it offers kind of a pretty cool experience, because again, it feels refreshing to not have to play a game and then be like, yo guys, can we get a tank, can we get a healer, and no one wants to play either, and like you have this weird team composition in Overwatch, and a lot of Overwatch players are looking for another game, and that's myself included, to kind of mess around with, you know, just in between playing some games of Overwatch. Sometimes you just want to play something else, and this could be a great game, especially, again, if you are a DPS player. But, I mean, like, this game is absolutely just like a stomp fest. I'm just going to go back to some other gameplay here. But I really think that Ranked is a really fun mode. By the way, yeah, like I said before, I didn't know where to put the cam before I was blocking the kill feed over there, which I had no idea. But there's a lot of guns in this game, and I don't really want to make this video like a guide on like what every single gun does or what every single hero does. Although I pretty much stuck on the guy that uses the Dire Orb, which, like I said, he throws an orb down, you can teleport towards it. It feels really good, and that guy, he charged into me. He had like his ultimate is a charge. But definitely look out. Actually, you know what? I'm going to link a video down below to showcase off how to do the whole strafe jumping, because it's going to increase your movement speed, and it's actually a pretty important aspect of the game, and I recommend all you guys to at least watch the video. It might not be the easiest thing, and I'm still trying to like get the grasp of it, but the community is very friendly. I mean, yeah, you might run into the occasional guy that says, dude, stop feeding, he'll like say that in the chat, but it is a new game, so more people will be willing to understand. And also, I feel like the community is pretty good. As far as my experience with it, I haven't had anyone that's like super toxic, because I would say this game caters towards more of an older audience, and I mean older as in like age, and also because Quake is an older game, you know, there's fans that have been playing Quake for a really long time, and they can drop some knowledge and give you guys some information, but it's just more mature, you know, and that's totally cool. And the game has obviously a much more mature theme, which I personally like. This artwork, I like the art style, and I used to play tons and tons of Unreal on the Dreamcast, on the Xbox. Now, as far as Unreal goes, because some people were talking about Unreal also, there's also a free version of Unreal, but there's not enough players. Sometimes you can't even really get a game, and that's kind of the problem with the Unreal. But again, since these games have such high action throughout its entirety, I think they need to add either a new game mode, and Capture the Flag, the spawns might be a little bit longer, but for the most part, I'm not sure if this game will be able to be like a top 5 game on Twitch, because this was a discussion that I actually had with another streamer as far as like its viability to stream the game, because as a streamer, you do have to also take into consideration, is the game a viable game to stream? Because I love streaming games that are completely dead or years and years old, regardless if I get views or not, but sometimes you need to think about, you know, the longevity of a game, because that not only is for obviously your revenue's sake, but also of course, the game's life cycle, because if not that many people are playing the game, you're going to run into the same people over and over, and it's not as fun. It's much more fun to play against newer people. At the moment of me making this video, well, at least last night when I was playing this game, there was about 5,000 people online via Steam charts, and there's probably a handful of other people that are also playing via the Bethesda launcher, so that number really can't be computed, at least not by just looking at an online stat. But again, if you are really good at DPS, you're going to have a pretty good time. However, I feel like most people that play this game, they're going to get destroyed and not be willing to put in the time. Like I mentioned before, like every 2 minutes there's a power-up that spawns. You can see my team is trying to control this area, which obviously this is the area where the quad damage spawns, which we pick it up. And that's going to give you quad damage. Again, it reminds me of a time in Halo where you would try to set up for these power weapons, or in this case it's the power-ups, whether it's cloak, whether it's overshield. That feels really good, and I like that. I miss that, honestly, because even though it's just TDM, to some people, there's a lot more that goes into it. Rotating and getting like the armor, because when you kill people, they drop armor, and I think that that's really cool, and it adds again another level to just straight TDM, which is kind of what Unreal offers. Although, yeah, with Unreal, obviously you can go ahead and grab pickups too, and then Unreal also has the whole double mechanic with guns where they have like an alternate fire. In this game, pretty much every gun just has one mode of fire, although there's other things that you can do. There's pretty cool things that you can also do in the game, like a really cool thing you can do is you can shoot a rocket, you can bounce someone to, like, because rockets have, they push targets away. So then you could swap to like a sniper and then like finish them off. There's a lot of cool things that you can do and that can make for hype moments. But I think that a younger audience, again, coming from maybe Overwatch or even Fortnite, they might jump into this game and be like, yo, this is way too hard. And I totally understand, because this is not like, it's not a game that's really, really easy and it's going to hold your hand. Even though they have a tutorial for the game, which, I mean, you might as well try it out. It's mostly going to be like, how good is your hit scan? But if you're willing to put in the time, I think this game can be a good experience. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Quake Champions. I definitely think that it's worth the download. Again, it's 16 gigs, and if you really enjoy it, I don't think that you'll have a bad time spending 20 bucks if you really already enjoy the game. But again, if you don't enjoy that, don't think that if I buy the Champion Pack, I'm going to be able to play a hero and they're going to be playing completely different. Yes, there's a hero that has an ultimate that can shoot a little like thing that flies in the air and shoots people, and it's kind of cool. But at the end of the day, it's still the core gameplay experience that is really going to determine, I think, if you like the game or not, which comes down to, are you getting a lot of kills, or are you willing to put in the time to get good at this game? But I think as far as being like a viable game on Twitch, to kind of go back on that, I think during tournaments it will be a pretty popular game, but I don't, again, see it as like a top 5 game on Twitch consistently. Again, maybe if someone really popular is streaming it, but I think a lot of people will check out the game, and I think it's worth checking out. It definitely feels good. It doesn't feel like it's in beta or alpha, or it needs like more work on like the core mechanics of the game. And one thing I want to give them credit for is not making it like easy, as far as like, basically it rewards skilled players. I'm sure a lot of you guys that have played Fortnite know that the game is generally going in more of a casual demographic, because you know, they're nerfing building a lot. But that's just part of some games, you know, marketing strategies, is to appeal to everyone. But this game, again, I mean, you can see like, everybody typing in GG even though they like lost. That's respectable. It's not too common. I mean, when does that ever happen in Overwatch? Very, very few times, right? But anyways, now that we rounded off the game, I think this is pretty much all I wanted to talk about. But those of you guys that have played Quake Champions, let me go ahead and fast forward to like the score screen. I don't know if we get a loot box, but again, with the whole like game having loot boxes, 0 pay to win. That's great. I'm glad that they're doing that. And I don't think that they're going to add that in the future. I don't know if I'm pretty sure we end up opening up a loot box here. But then there's like the scoreboard, and you guys can see the KD. You'll see most people just end up using the rocket launcher, but there's a lot of people, like for example, no disrespect to the guy that had a 0.2 KD, but I could see people not really enjoying the game if they don't have a good time. But put in the time, guys, like I mentioned before, it can actually be worth checking out for sure, definitely. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Quake Champions. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below, and I'll probably be streaming the game once in a while over on Twitch. So if you're not following me on Twitch, feel free to go ahead and follow me on Twitch. Well, I'll definitely be streaming the game from time to time and checking out what's new, but I feel like they need to add a lot more game modes. Currently, it's pretty much just TDM. There is like an insta-give mode, but pretty much it's just TDM. Here's open up loot boxes again. It's just cosmetic, so don't worry about anyone having better weapons than you. But anyways, that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. And anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'm signing out.